Good afternoon, everybody. This is Scott Roberts with Explore Scientific, and I'm here with Jerry Hubbell, and hiding once again is Kent Marts. He's going to be operating the Android tablet that we have here, and we have, you can see that we're sharing Jerry's screen, and you can see the Exos 100 with a like an 80 millimeter, 90 millimeter refractor attached to it. And tonight's topic is installing ExploreStars app onto the Android tablet and also installing the object database. And so we're here to answer everybody's questions if you have them, and to welcome everyone to the show. Bergman, Schlueter, nice to see you there again. So here we go. I'll turn this over to Jerry.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm happy to see everybody. Actually, I can't see anybody right now.
You can't see anyone.
So happy to hear everybody. Let's put it that way.
There we go.
So we're talking about how to install the ExploreStars on the Android device. And the very first thing you want to do is go to the PMC-Eight mount. Okay, so you go to the mounts on our web page.
Okay.
Computerized mounts, PMC-Eight mounts, and you want to go to this fourth ExploreStars software and database downloads. Okay, there's another spot you can go to get that, and that's up at the top here under support. I want to point this out. So at the main menu, and actually it may be in a different spot for you, but it's at the end of the line. You go to support, and then you pull out PMC-Eight software and downloads.
And Jerry, that goes to the same spot, right?
That goes to the same spot. And what you want to do, you want to skip over this first. So the top of the page it says download ExploreStars. You want to skip over that first, and you want to go directly to the PMC-Eight configuration manager, because that's going to help us make it much easier on you to download the database onto the SD card. So the things you need to do this to install Android, you need the Android tablet, whatever it is, and you need a micro SD card. And I'll show you what a picture of that looks like here.
And a Windows machine.
And a Windows machine, right. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your micro SD card that's going to go into your tablet, and we have to put some database on it and some files. So you're going to get one of these with the adapter to put it into your PC to download the file with the configuration manager. So you're going to click on this to get and install the configuration manager. Okay. I'm not going to do that. You'll see how that works. It basically comes up and you can run it from that. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to, after you install it, you're going to open up your configuration manager, and it's going to look like this.
Okay.
Okay. So don't worry about any of these tabs, okay, with the PMC-Eight. If you've done it before, you'll know that you've used it for other things, like to switch your connection and things like that. But today, all we're worried about with the configuration manager is the ExploreStars. So you want to click on the ExploreStars tab. And we're talking about installing it to Android, which is the SD card. So we're going to install it to an SD card. So
you just got to click that one radio button, huh? That's
right. This one radio button right here. Nice. And you say, okay, I'm going to install to the SD card. Now, you've got to make sure that you've inserted your SD card into your PC. You have to have an SD card slot on your PC or some kind of SD card reader attached to your PC. All right. Pretty much all PCs and laptops come with an SD card slot now. So once you've done that, now you want to select the SD card drive, and it should come up in the list. So when you hit this down arrow, it should come up just like it shows E drive on mine.
Yeah.
So Jerry, the configuration manager found that automatically, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Now, so this is step 2. You select your drive, and then you hit install, and it's going to take about 30 seconds. So I'm going to hit install right now. It's going to our file server to go get the database zip file, and it's going to unzip it and install it where it needs to go. So I'm going to hit install. I just hit it. There's no indication. You just have to sit here and wait. And
how do you know
give you an idea of how long it takes?
Yeah, how do you know when it's done?
It'll come up just like that.
Oh, so there's the indication.
10 seconds.
All right.
That was good timing, Scott. So you can see what it does, okay?
Right.
If there's an existing database there, it will delete it and tell you that it deleted. Then it unzips the file that it downloaded, and then it installs it.
So it just does everything for you, but it's telling you what it's doing.
Right, exactly. And then you hit OK, and you close this, and you remove the SD card, and I'll turn it over to Kent.
Yeah, his name.
Kent,
do that.
Kent,
yeah, his
Kent
name's
would be
Kent.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Kent. Yeah, that's
the guy you work with. And we do the show together and stuff, you know. So I mean,
you can't see me. You just forget about
it. It's a big deal,
right.
But that's just his name.
Okay, so
Kent's going to show you. I just passed in the SD card.
How did you get that SD card all the way through the internet from Jerry? That's pretty amazing.
Star Trek transporter.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Go with that.
Yep. So,
all right. So you got it.
We can see how small this thing is, and this thing is easy to lose. In fact,
yeah. So we earlier what happened was Kent stuck that thing in there, and it's got a spring or something, and it shot it clear across the room. So.
Yeah, like 15 feet after it bounced off my shoulder, and I had to get on my knees and.
Yeah, and Kent said something that we can't or shouldn't say on the internet. So.
Well, luckily, we weren't on Facebook Live. So, anyway, all right. So here we go.
Too bad we weren't. Okay, here we go.
On my tablet, the SD card slot is right here.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm doing this left-handed, so it's not going to be easy. And it goes in and just push it in. And I'm going to keep my thumb there to make sure it doesn't shoot out.
Shoot out again. Yeah.
And then otherwise, I had to speak French. And so I'm going to put the cover back on, and that causes it to shut down. So now I'm going to go to the Google. There we go. So now I have the database in the machine. Okay. So I'm going to go to the Google Play Store.
All right. Let's go back. Focus on you.
So back to the Google Play Store.
And folks, we realize that the screen doesn't look real sharp, okay? But you're still going to be able to see exactly what he's doing here. So
I've already typed in ExploreStars, but in the search bar, you would type in ExploreStars, one word.
Yeah.
I'm going to tap it. And right here, ExploreStars by Dan Dickerson. He's one of the PMC-Eight users who wrote this app because he wanted something. And so I'm going to tap it. And now I'm going to tap install. And it tells me that it's going to needs access to location and photos media files. And I'm going to tap accept. And now it's going to, we cross our fingers, begin to download. There it goes. So some Android tablets don't ask you that question, and you have to go into the apps and tell the app, find ExploreStars, open it, tell the app to use the external database. And on some flavors of ExploreStars, you'll have to go into the security settings and authorize the tablet to use the external database.
It's some flavors of Android, some flavors of the tablet, not the ExploreStars.
Correct.
The security settings.
Is it more the operating system from the Android side that doesn't notify you, or is it?
Correct. Correct. It doesn't notify you. People will just try, and it just won't come up, and it won't have the database. And you'll get a message that says data files missing.
Okay.
And that's an indication either you've got don't have the security settings right, or you didn't extract the database right on the SD card, or you have the Windows database extracted.
So if you run into a brick wall with your Android set up and can't figure it out, then you'll get in touch with us directly.
give us a call. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I forgot to show Scott and Kent, maybe after you're done installing and working, I can go back and show the directory structure on the SD card.
Sure.
What it looks like. So if people want to look at that.
Sure. Okay.
I'm making a note of. Okay. So now then, so we've got the database in the machine.
Okay.
We've got the app installed, and now we're going to open the app.
Okay.
And it's going to come up, if it shows a little square box right here that says something about an SQLite error, that's an indication that you have either don't have the database on the micro SD card, or you have the Windows database, or you did not extract it correctly. But it's come up, and now it's ready to go. And
so it's already accessing the database and everything at this point.
Correct. And we can test that real quick.
Okay.
We can hit Menu, Catalog, and there's the pictures.
Yep.
So we know the database is there.
Yes.
So now we're going to hit the Home button.
Okay.
And it may be hooked up to the mount. Let's see. It may hooked up automatically because it saw it. No, it didn't, because we had the internet going. So we know we didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're going to go home.
Yeah.
And we're going to go to the gear for the settings. And we're going to go to Wi-Fi. And there's the PMC-Eight. So I'm going to tap on it. And I'm going to tell it to forget this network, because I want you to see this again. So we're going to, there it is. So now then, I'm going to put in the password. I'm going to go ahead and make this easy to see. It's PMC, all uppercase, as you can see. And now this is the hard part, finding the correct dash.
Not an underscore, but a dash mark.
It's not, it's a minus sign, effectively, I guess, is what I tell people. Back to the alphabet keyboard, got a capital E, and then we're going to finish spelling the word 8. So E, uppercase, then lowercase I, G, H, T. So we have PMC-Eight. It's spelled correctly. Looks like a dash, not an underscore, an M dash or N dash.
Okay.
So we're going to hit connect. And it looks like it says it's connected.
Okay.
So back here, we're going to launch ExploreStars again. And it said something about the internet going down. So let's see if the mount moves now. And there it goes.
Yeah, I hear it. There it is.
And there it goes moving.
And you guys see me like, being crushed by the telescope.
Oh,
no.
Look in the eyepiece. Scott, look in the eyepiece. What do you see? There you go. All right, so if you do this and your mount doesn't move, people sort of can't figure out what's going on. Let me show you real quick. If you hit the square button, it shows you all the apps that are running in the background. And sometimes if the app is running in the background and you can't connect to the mount, it's because it's right here. And it's really easy to get rid of all these. You just tap clear all. And bam, all those apps are gone. Then you go back, and I'll just do it real quick. Hit the round button. Launch ExploreStars again.
Okay.
And it reads the data off the PMC-Eight, so it knows where it is. It didn't forget where it was at.
And there it moves again. So I've reconnected. Okay. So now then, because I've messed with it, it doesn't know where park is. Probably. But let's just find out.
That's fine.
No, it does know where park is, because the PMC-Eight keeps track of that.
That's settings.
Well, let's find out.
Park. And there it goes. Back to this park position.
That's it.
It does remember.
Yep.
So we can look. It's got the local time right.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, we told it had to use the location services.
Well, go down there and show the preferences on that, or show where that's set at.
So one thing
Oh,
I
wait,
do.
hold on for a second, Kent. You skipped a whole step there. How'd you get to this?
Oh, okay. Menu. Menu is your friend.
Yeah.
Menu is your friend because it's everything on all the apps. Well, on the Windows app, you got to go to preferences, but otherwise it's menu.
Menu here. Okay, so
Menu
that
here.
now that is overexposed. We really can't see what is in that bar. Okay, just
Okay, that's weird because it's red, so it
Mhm.
must see it as black. So I have up here. I have help,
Okay.
main screen, catalog, coordinates,
Yeah.
settings, and about.
Okay.
So we're going to tap on settings.
Okay.
So can you see that? Yep, you can see that.
Yeah,
It has something
yeah,
to
we
do with
can
that
see that.
red. It
Mhm.
doesn't like that bright red.
Doesn't like
And
the bright red.
I've got this tablet turned way down. Now then, first thing I do, we'll come back to it. I'm going to turn auto align off right here. Auto align is now off. So when I tell it to Schlueter something, nothing happens until I hit the go to button.
Yeah.
And
You
this
like that
comes-
because maybe you got trees or buildings in the way of where you're set.
Exactly. It makes alignment easier because it doesn't just automatically take off.
Mhm.
So I'm going to look, and if we're worried about, wait a minute, low longitude and latitude, what's going on? I can enter it manually, or I can just tell it to load GPS coordinates, and I know that we're minus 94 and we're 36,
Yeah.
and change here. So
Yeah.
that minus, if you enter these manually, that minus sign is hugely important because without that minus sign, it thinks you're 94 degrees east
Yeah.
of the prime meridian. You're in
side of the planet. Yeah.
you're 180. You're in Russia or somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So from here, the next thing we need to do is this ignore FW. We're going to tell it to tap and use firmware. So it's going to ping them out and figure out what it is. But I always think it's always belts and suspenders best to set it to Exos 2. Let me see if I can get that to go away.
But what does belts and suspenders mean?
That's the
something
Exos.
it's something my grandpa taught me.
Okay.
That if you're really worried about your pants falling down, you wear a belt and you wear suspenders.
And suspenders, yes.
It's
Okay.
not belt but belt and suspenders. So anyway,
So that's an Exos 2 mount that you're connected to?
Exos 100.
the Exos 100.
Exos 100.
This is hard to do from 2.5 feet away on the.
I know it is.
At least that's what I'll claim. So now we've told it to use the firmware, so it's pinging to find out.
Okay.
We've also covered our conditions. So at this point, we've got it set up. The mount's in the home position, which means the mount's pointing north. So the camera is looking from a little bit north of west. So we're looking at the west side of the mount. So in the picture, the telescope is pointed at Polaris.
Yeah.
The counterweight is straight down.
Yes.
So it's the home position. Okay. And so now we know that's where it is. I'm going to do a quick 2-star alignment. Tap 2-star alignment.
Okay.
And if we had not turned auto align off, the mount would now take off going for this star and Cephas.
I got one other question for you, Kent, before
Sure,
you get
Jerry.
rolling on this. How do you know what time is set to and it's correct?
Well,
Time is very important.
I can look at it and know my universal time is, I can't see it. I'm going to have to move the tablet. The time is set for 2020-06-16. So it's June 16th. And it's set for 21:20:34.
But it's also got local time
It's
listed there,
UTC.
doesn't it?
Local time is set for 16:20:43, which is
what
exactly what time it is right here.
It's 4:20. Yeah. And
3.
yes.
Yeah, change. And so looking down here, and that's right up here, we have an LMST, which is local mean sidereal time, latitude and longitude, OTA data. It tells us where the right ascension is, declination, altitude, azimuth, and the tracking speed, which it sets automatically. We don't need that. And the target data says it's going to Iota Cephei. Well, we can't see that because Barbara Jean's in the way. Barbara Jean being Scott's Airstream. So we have it right up against it, trying to get out of the wind, and we can't see it. So we're going to go to the next star.
Okay.
And nope, can't see that. So we're going to go to the next star. Nope. It likes. We can see this star. It's Phi Andromeda. So we can see it. And every once in a while, it doesn't show us exactly where it is at this point, but we're going to tell it to go to. Now, if you notice, I started to hit enter. And had I hit enter, I would have told the app that we were pointing at this star. Okay, well, we're not pointing at that star. So is the mount going?
It already went.
It already went. Okay.
It's not that far from north, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that far from north. So if we need to move the mount, we can move at sidereal rate, which is 0, but we want to move it a little bit quicker than that. I'm going to pick 3. So we're going to look in the eyepiece. And how I do it is, because there's no buttons, so you have to be able to look in the eyepiece and see the tablet at the same time. I'm left eye dominant. So I look in the eyepiece with my left eye closed. So I'm looking in the eyepiece with my right eye, and I hold the tablet to the left of the eyepiece, and I look in there. And when I want to see the tablet, I open my left eye, get my finger where I want it, close my left eye, and then tap a button to see which way it moves. And I go, nope, that's not right. And so I open, close, find the correct button, and so...
Now, something I'm going to point out here, Kent, and you may have forgotten we have this accessory, but we have these suction cup buttons that you can put onto the tablets, and then you have a tactile, 4-button set that goes on the up, down, left, and right keys right there, and you don't have to look, you don't have to use both eyes or one eye or blink eyes or anything like that. You can feel it. And these work with gloves.
Yes. So using my technique, if you're right eye dominant, you close your right eye, look in the eyepiece with your left eye, and have the tablet under your right eye. Anyway, moving on. So we have moving at a speed of 3, and we're going to move because we're off a little bit in our polar alignment. The telescope wasn't pointed exactly at Polaris. There was some cone error, and we can talk about cone error in a minute. Or something happened and we weren't set exactly right. So we're going to move them out just a little bit. And maybe that way. And now I've got the star dead center. I'm going to hit enter. And now it wants to go to this in Draco. And, we know we already barely moved. We need to pick a star farther away to get a good virtual alignment. Because these stars, there's Polaris right there. So we're going to go to next. Okay, we can use that one. So we're going to now hit go to.
There we go. Now, something we should talk a little bit about at this moment is why did we go this route of choosing a system that would be controlled either by a mobile device like this or a desktop, okay, and not just do what everybody else did and build in a hand controller, okay? We had long conversations about this because we already had a hand controller. We could have rebuilt it, reconfigured it, and then tethered. If you wanted to have it to another system, you could have tethered it, but it still would not be as versatile and as evergreen as this system is, okay? Because oh, Mike Wiesner had a question. Where are the slew arrows on the tablet? There's two of them, Mike. One of them is the up, down, left, and right key, and you can select speeds from 0, which is guide speed, all the way up to 9, which is the fastest speed slewable, okay? And there's also the ability there's a joystick function on the tablet where you can just drag it around, and maybe Kent can show that here in a moment. But the reason why we didn't go with a hand controller is that the hand controllers on the marketplace, for the most part, are not designed as real outdoor electronics, okay? When I was with my former company, I cannot tell you how many hand controllers we replaced because the contacts oxidized. In fact, there was a whole thing about how to take the hand controller apart, pull off the rubber pad, go to the contacts, get the silver high contact. It was like a paint that you would put onto the contacts and then reassemble it and put it back together. Okay. We replaced hand controllers all the time. I didn't want people to have to replace hand controllers all the time. Okay. Also, a tablet or any mobile device is way, way more powerful and versatile than a hand controller is. And so these are reasons why we went in that direction. Do you have more to add to that, Jerry?
There's the other thing is to buy a hand controller from us. It's more expensive than to buy a tablet.
Also true.
So
yes.
Also true. That's right.
So
yeah, tablets, unless you're buying, you can buy an expensive tablet. You can. But it's not required that you buy an expensive.
No, we bought used. Like I've got a Galaxy Tab A, actually, that I bought used. It's an 8-inch tablet. It's a very powerful tablet, fairly new. It was only $80.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a hand controller is going to be over. It's going to be over $100. So that's right. And all the hand controller does is it just does that. It doesn't surf the web. It doesn't. You can't look up stuff. You can't do anything else with it. Okay. So it's a very single-purpose kind of device. This is much better. And then, when there are updates, there are, new features, these kinds of things. In the app world, you just get them. So and it's not a big hassle. So these are the reasons why we went down this path.
Okay. So while we're talking, I went ahead and sync to the star so we can keep moving along.
Okay.
So.
Try that joystick. Try that virtual joystick.
Oh, no, there we go. Here, let's do this first. Let's go to the sun real quick. Catalog. So we're going to pick a Messier object. We'll just follow along in order.
Okay.
It's Messier objects. We're going to go to M1 Crab Nebula. It tells us that it's up because if it's not up, it says below the horizon. We're going to tap Slew to Object. Now remember, the Slew
to Object button wouldn't show up either if it wasn't available.
Correct. Now off it goes.
There's a couple of comments here. Dusty Haskins says 100% agree. People always have their phone with them. If you you won't forget that. But I almost forgot my hand controller over the weekend. That can be easy to do. Ansel Puri says, sorry if I missed it. If you discussed it earlier, other than tablets, does the app work comfortably on a cell phone, Android or Apple? We are in fact in development on that now, Ansel. So if you're more inclined to work from your phone than a tablet, then sure, that will be available. We'll make that announcement. You'll probably hear it first on the OpenGOTO community, and then on this show.
Your speed's set to 3.
Yeah,
I saw you trying to move it.
Oh yeah, what'd you say? There we go. You put it on 9. There you go. So there's your joystick, Mike.
And of course, live broadcast had this issue of it's not turning in deck right now. Scott, did you balance it?
I can check it. Yeah.
You didn't balance it.
Is it making noise?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So everybody wave at Scott. There he is. So my guess is Scott did not balance it.
That seems pretty good.
How do you get the joystick up, Jerry? I can't get the home joystick up.
The north-south button.
But it's always there.
No, it's not always there. Okay, here we go down. Anything happening, Scott? Is the deck cable plugged in? Did it come unplugged? How about the deck head?
Oh, it was loose.
Here we go. The deck cable is loose.
Here, try it just by reconnecting.
Okay, so this is a perfect example of what happens in the field. This was in the office. We had it working. 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, it quits working. And things like this happen in the field, and this is a great example. So here we go. I'm going to try it again, Scott. There we go. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This is a great teaching tool. Scott, go ahead and put it back to the home position. Go ahead and manually move it back to the home position. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the home screen. I'm going to hit the square button, and I'm going to close the app down completely. Okay? So now, and
Scott needs to go out there.
Scott, unplug that.
Yeah.
Yep. Turn the power off. Yep. Turn the power off. So we're using the, and then turn it back on. We're using the Explorer Scientific Power Bank that's designed specifically for this mount. Comes with cables that have the correct tips. They're guaranteed to work. They're spring-loaded. It's a great little device. Okay. So now we're back running. So it's back up. Let's go to the gear. And we're going to go to Wi-Fi. And it's already connected up to the PMC-8 system by itself. And it's complaining, as you can see, because the internet is unavailable. All these tablets are designed to look for the internet, either a cellular connection or a Wi-Fi. And there's no internet available because the Wi-Fi is hooked up to the mount's Wi-Fi, which is not broadcasting internet signal. Sometimes it's not happy about that. So we're going to launch ExploreStars again. And it just maintains the settings we had. And there's the virtual joystick. So we're going to test it real quick.
You got to set the speed to 9.
Nope, you drag it.
You got to set the speed to 9.
Nope, the farther you drag it, the faster it goes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's dynamic. Yeah. There you go.
So now we're back up and running again. So we're going to go ahead real quick. And that happens in the field. You know, live TV, we all, deal with these things. And so we're going to park the telescope again.
Well, Mike says he loves using the joystick mode in his ScopeBoss iOS app with his AutoStar 2 telescope. ScopeBoss also has a tilt slew using the accelerometers. That's kind of cool. Might consider adding that in ExploreStars. Yeah, that might be a really cool thing.
And there's
let
ways
the boss touch the equipment. Thanks, Mike.
and if you hook up to the mount with through the serial cable, there's ways to hook up joysticks and controllers and wire your phone in. There's all sorts of ways. The Groups IO, the PMC-8 users forum on Groups IO is a great location where people describe those things. So real quick, we're going to blow through a polar alignment again, or a virtual alignment. So we're going to go Menu, Settings, 2-star, menu, settings. And we're going to tell it to reset alignment because we want it to delete the previous alignment data completely. So we're going to hit reset alignment. Now
I should have done that. I should have done that automatically when you selected a 2-star alignment again.
Belts and suspenders, Jerry.
Yeah, I know.
Belts and suspenders. It's a button tap to guarantee it works. And weirdly, Jerry, there's something hovering over your shoulder. Is that ET or?
I'm not showing it right now. Let me see.
Yeah, it looks like a droid or something. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we can see this star in Cassiopeia, so we're going to tell it to go to it.
Mike Overacker has a question. He says, does anyone here use the PMC-8 in outreach? Mike, of course I do.
I do.
But I think you're asking the audience is really the question. You know, using any kind of go-to system, no matter what it is, or any kind of equipment, when you're in an outreach situation, is knowing it like the back of your hand. And so, but even knowing it like the back of your hand often means that you're going to get really distracted by people in an outreach situation where they don't even really let you set up. You know, you can't even level the tripod quite quickly enough before people are running at the eyepiece trying to look in or trying to get access to the telescope. So, you know, it's when I do astronomy outreach, sometimes I will take 2 telescopes. One of them is just dead nuts, totally mechanical, no electronics, okay? I aim the telescope at something, and I let people start looking through it. My electronic telescope, you know, whether it was when I was running with LX200s and the AutoStar or any kind of other system, you know, that there's a little bit of a setup time. You know, you need to align on 1 or 2 stars, you know, so so that's, you know, you need to offer that kind of buffer. But once you got it going, wow, now it's great because you can be in a light polluted region. Of course, enough aperture, you're going to see things. You're going to see more stars. You're going to see some deep sky objects probably. Some hint of them anyways, even if in really light polluted areas like we were on with Chuck Ayub from Detroit, okay, and he can see the Andromeda Galaxy and the Orion Nebula even from 8.5 Bortle skies, which is, you know, 9 is the most light polluted it gets. Okay, so so that's my recommendation.
But I'll tell you what, when you set this up and you standing somewhere, you know, away and people are around it and all of a sudden it starts moving.
Yeah.
People start looking around trying to figure out what's going
Yeah,
on.
what the heck is happening? Right.
And you tell them what you're doing, they're just flabbergasted that it's working. And I'll tell you this, you know, I went over to the Buffalo National River for a star party. They hosted New Year's Eve that night, and I had my iPad that I was charging up on my charger on the way over. I get over there and I had 5% battery left. Yeah. And I'm like, this is the only telescope I've got. I'm like, I'm hosed.
Yeah.
And luckily, I had installed the A version of the firmware, so the watchdog is turned off. So I managed to do a 4-hour star party and not run out of batteries. I would point it to something and immediately turn it off, and the mount would continue to track where I put it, and was able to, you know, show people things and get through 4 hours and only use, you know, 3% battery life. And because I had that firmware.
Sure.
But people loved it when it goes and everything's good. People love it. So.
Yeah. Now, Mike Overacker is asking another question here. Okay. He's saying that he wants a comparison from the kind of equipment that he uses right now. You say you have a couple of evolutions, an AVX and an LX65. Okay, so pretty easy to set up. Look, the setup of the mechanical stuff is going to be exactly the same. You're going to be you know, leveling a tripod. You're going to be doing a basic alignment. Okay. Both the AVX and the LX65 are both German Equatorial mounts. So you're going to be doing a basic rough polar alignment. Let's say that you are in the city, okay, and you are having a very, very tough time seeing any bright stars at all, okay. What you can do with the ExploreStars and the iExos 100 or any of the PMC-8 systems, and I've done this, is you just put the scope in the home position. You make sure it's level. You do your darn best to make sure that you are pointing it north. Maybe you bring a compass, okay, because you can't even see Polaris because it's so light polluted, okay. You have the latitude set as closely as you can, okay, on the German Equatorial mount. And then what I do, if I've got, let's say, Jupiter up or Saturn up or the moon, and I can see those things through the Mercury vapor lights overhead, what I do is I just jump immediately to the library. I'll punch in the moon, okay? I'll let it slew over to the moon. And if I've done it really good, the moon's going to be in the finder scope, okay? Even though I was not able to go through an alignment algorithm or any of these points. This is a zero alignment kind of adjustment. And then you can you can either motor over to the object if you want, or you can release the locks and put the object in the eyepiece, lock it up, and hit the sync button, okay? And at least it knows where that point is in the sky. That's a little bit faster than Celestron's 3-star alignment, okay? A little bit faster than the Meade AutoStar alignment as well, you know. There's also workarounds for the AutoStar. For the Celestron system, I'm not so sure, but it could be that there's also the same type of workaround where you're working in light polluted skies in an outreach, scenario.
So Scott, we had this question earlier today. One of the other customer service reps came up, and the person wanted us to compare the AVX to the Exos 2 with PMC-8.
Okay.
And I went, and I've not used an AVX, so I was not familiar. AVX apparently has servo motors and encoder wheels, and the PMC-8 system uses high precision stepper motors that count micro steps.
Right,
and so you don't have
motors. Yes.
You don't have the problems you get with encoder wheels. A bug gets in there, or the encoder wheel gets a little bit farther away from the light emitter or the diode, and it misses step counts. It eliminates one system. The other thing
what I would say about that is if they have an encoder that's working correctly, and 9 times out of 10, and maybe 99 times out of 100, they will be. Okay, so it's not like a danger zone. The danger zone is really with DC servo motors is when if you have cord wrap, if you have things where there's going to be a binding situation, DC servos really tax the electronics, you know. And the other part I would talk about is a big difference between the two systems is the way the electronics are made, you know. We have mil-spec electronics with conformal coating. They're designed to be outdoors, you know. We're not choosing the lowest priced component, okay, component by component to shave off a nickel or a dime here or there, you know, when this product sells, because guys, I don't want to get the electronics back. I don't ever want to see our product come back for repair, you know. I'd much rather it's staying out there in the field, working. You're not worried about it. I'm not worried about it, okay? And that's the reason why we spent a little bit more money up front to make sure that happened. And it's why Jerry, you know, one of the reasons why Jerry was chosen to develop this, because he developed electronics for nuclear power plants. Guess what? There's not a lot of margin for error in a nuclear power plant if your electronic instrument goes down, okay? It just really can't fail. And so that was the discipline that we applied towards this system. That's the big one, Mike.
And so additionally, the AVX has gears, whereas ours has a pulley rubber belt system that smooths out, and we've gone over that in previous videos and actually showed it, I believe, yesterday. And the Exos 2 has a rated, Exos 2 with PMC-8 has a rated astrophotography weight of 28 pounds of cameras and telescopes and other gear. That's not including the counterweights. The AVX said it had a weight limit of capacity of 30 pounds. So under the rule of thumb of 60% of that can be telescopes, that means it has an 18-pound capacity for
astrophotography.
Another question.
Astrophotography.
So let me finish this real quick.
Sure.
And so the point of that is, because Scott asked for this, we now make a declarative statements on our astrophotography mounts, the Exos 100 and the Exos 2 with PMC-8, that we make a looking forward positive declaration. We don't leave it for people to buy a mount that says it's got a 30-pound capacity and then can't do astrophotography because it's really only 18 pounds. We state unequivocally, this is rated for 28 pounds of astrophotography gear for AP and 40 pounds for visual astrophotography. Yep. We make similar statements for the Exos 100.
Yeah.
So it's a very positive forward clarity issue.
Yeah, it's a little misleading to say that it does so many pounds, and they go, well, that's total weight. That's total theoretical weight, okay? Right. Astrophotographers aren't looking for theoretical. They want to know what's the number, okay? And so we give the number for astrophotography, and we really want people to be doing astrophotography with our equipment. So Mike Wiesner asked, I assume the installation of the app and database in the iPad is easier than what was demoed earlier with Android. Yeah, this is, of course, you just watched the Android install. Installing the app on the Android is not difficult. It's just that there is this side load with the SD card of the database. With the iPad, it's all downloaded all at once. Okay, so, and Mike, we already ran that program. It's in our playlist on our YouTube channel, and you can see the program there.
Episode 7 or 6, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So the reason we have to sideload the database is because these stores require, and on the Windows Store also, the stores require that when you install an app that it can only take so long to install it.
Right.
It's got to install within 30 seconds or whatever it is.
Right. They don't
our data
in the store.
Right. So our data size, our total size of our application with the database is just too long to allow that. So they don't allow us. We initially started down that path, but it would reject it. So we had to pull the database, which by the way has over 80,000 objects in it. 84,000 or something like that, and so it's a very large database with all the text and the graphics and everything. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have to side load it on the Android at the Google Play Store and on the Windows Store, and also it's available on the Amazon Fire. That's one of the things. The Amazon Fire is the same as Android, and you'll find this app on the Amazon Fire Store also, if you have one of those devices.
Mm-hmm. But the Android tablet must, in capital letters, underlined, bold-faced, have a micro SD card or some other version of external memory, or it will not work. Now, and that's just why, and I had a conversation today with a customer, and he's got a tablet with no SD card.
What? Really?
Yes, and he's not pleased. I understand that, and apparently it's a very high-end tablet, but it doesn't have a micro SD card.
Okay,
and
we have a couple of questions here. Mike Overacker is asking, does the PMC-8 system work with third-party apps like Sky Safari Pro 6? The answer is that, Mike, that we work with through ASCOM. And we have a fully compliant ASCOM client or driver system for the PMC-8, and so there's lots of software out there that runs it. You want to elaborate on that, Jerry?
Yeah. So in terms of, there is a way to configure the system to use Sky Safari, and Wes McDonald on the forum has done this and uses this type of configuration where he runs the. Now this requires that you run the ASCOM driver because there's a little tool that you can get for Windows that's a bridge between Sky Safari and ASCOM. I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. If you look on the forum, we can find that information out and post it again on the forum, or maybe we can post it on this on the Facebook page.
I can look for it.
It's made by Sequence. It's made by the company that created Sequence Generator Pro.
Okay.
So it's called it's like a bridge software between Sky Safari. I think I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's like
it's a bridge from Sky Safari to.
It's an ASCOM bridge for Sky Safari. It's made by Sequence Generator Pro, the company that creates Sequence Generator Pro.
Is it the Wi-Fi scope?
Yeah, Wi-Fi scope. That's it.
There we go. Oh, I see it. Okay. Oh, they just asked for a donation.
So that's a way to use your phone with Sky Safari with the PMC-Eight.
There's the link.
Now you still require a Windows machine that runs ASCOM to connect to the PMC-Eight.
Uh-huh.
So while we're doing this, I'm going through finish up the 2-star alignment. So, and anybody who's with the PMC-Eight system needs to join the groups IO, the PMC-Eight online users group. There are people who have used the system and hooked up all sorts of programs and can tell you how to do it. There's also people in there who are doing can help you with PhD2. We don't want the forum to be an auto-guiding forum. There's some help there, but the reality is there's other much better forums for getting deep, detailed help in PhD2 or what other go-tos or auto-guiding software you have. So I've slewed to this star in Draco. It's dead center on, so we're going to tell it to enter, and now we've done a virtual 2-star alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's just go BNU, catalog. Let's go to the solar.
Ray De Silvestro is asking, would it be a good fit for the RASA 8? Okay. I probably would recommend one of our heavier duty mounts for that particular scope. The IXS 100 that you're seeing here is a very lightweight mount meant for smaller scopes. We're running this. I think that what we're running is a 90 millimeter refractor right here. It's kind of hard to tell from the scaling in the room.
Yeah, it looks like a bigger mount because
the camera angle makes it look huge, but actually, you want to have a mount that has more oomph to it, and we have those. That would be the Exos 2 PMC-Eight or the G11 PMC-Eight, and I'll put up a link here so that you can check those out.
What's going on? I just can't walk away.
I don't know.
Did that help with size?
Oh, you walked over this for scale.
Yeah.
For a sense of scale. Okay.
Yep. So, see, if you ever catch just a medium-sized or little fish, same thing. If you hold it out in front of you and use a wide-angle lens, that trout looks like it's a whopper. It only weighed a pound, but it looks like a 10-pounder. So it's always a good trick of photography to use that perspective. Okay, so now I've gone to the catalog and picked solar. I'm going to tap slew to object, and off it goes. So this is roughly polar lines, so this would be an interesting test.
So you're saying the orientation of the mount right now is the same as it would be outside or similar?
That is correct. That is correct. See, it drives me crazy in the store because we tend to point all the equatorial mounts to the south. And and my OCD kicks in, and I want to turn.
They look better that way. We pretend we're in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, I'll tell you what, my OCD kicks in. I want to turn them all around. It's hard. I have to tell people, okay, we're going to act like that's north, and it just just kills me. Okay, so that's doing a pretty darn good job of pointing right where the sun is. Absolutely,
except there's no solar filter on that thing, so
we're now trying to burn a hole in the ceiling.
That's right. That's right.
So Scott, we were talking about at star parties and how you align when there's a crowd. At that star party we had in Labor Day last year.
Yeah.
We were setting up telescopes, and I couldn't really see Polaris, and I had a pretty good know where north is, and so I plunked it down, and people wanted to see stuff, so I slewed to Saturn, and I had a 127 on an Exos 2 with PMC-8, so the carbon fiber, and I got close enough that Polaris was in the Saturn was in the finder scope.
Yeah.
And I knew I had started out from a pretty darn good home position. So I adjusted the mount at azimuth and in elevation, just like I was polar aligning it, and moved the telescope to Saturn. Because I took, knowing the principle that Jerry built in, if you start from 0, 0, and everything, and you don't have a loose cable or binding or anything, it's going to go to exactly where, if you have a perfect polar alignment, it's going to go exactly to where Saturn should be.
True.
And I thought, okay.
We ran many tests like that when we were first developing it, and didn't have the pointing algorithms installed yet. We were doing that, and it was nailing stuff all over the sky. So I just used azimuth and elevation, just like I was trying to polar align it, except I've zeroed out the cone error. I just got Saturn centered up in the eyepiece and started viewing. And I had a 100-degree 5.5 millimeter eyepiece in there. Okay.
And did not touch the telescope controls again for 3 hours.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of really cool ways to do a polar alignment. That would be one of them. Another one would be I had a friend that would use 2 stars in the sky and just using the Alt-Az controls on the equatorial mount until he could fit these 2 stars, as he would use the celestial coordinates between those 2 stars. That was important. But this is back when we were using setting circles, and that was Cliff Holmes that actually started the Riverside Telescope Makers Conference Star Party, and he was showing me that's how he did polar alignments, and I thought that was very cool.
So it was just an iterative method. He just went back and forth and just
but he had it down to a science. I mean, this guy could do it so fast, and his whole shtick was educational outreach. So he would be setting up on street corners and schools and all that stuff, and with completely manual everything. Okay, he could polar align a scope very accurately, and then use setting circles to find everything else in the sky. His computer was up here. Okay, and he knew how to use those dials. Now you got a tablet that can do it. So
if you notice, every once in a while I reach over and I just touch the screen because I don't want the tablet to go to sleep, because if it goes to sleep, it almost always loses the Wi-Fi connection to the mount, and you may or may have some issues getting back connected up.
Yeah.
With the tablet, this tablet, I can only set it to not go to sleep for 20 minutes. So I've just learned when I'm using the tablet and I'm out observing and may keep it on, but I want to go back and forth, I just keep tapping it and keep it awake.
Yep.
On the iPad, I can just leave it on if I want to. I can set it to never go to sleep. I've never used a Windows tablet except a friend, so not sure if there's a setting on a Windows tablet to never go to sleep or not. But
that brings up the you mentioned the firmware before. So there's two. So even if you disconnect, if you have either version of the firmware, when you disconnect, as long as the PMC-8 has not been powered down, it'll come back and go out and query the PMC-8 and say, tell me where you're at, and it'll come back and it'll update the OTA position on the ExploreStars. The A value, the A version of the firmware is what keeps it tracking even if you turn off your tablet. So if you've got an SLR, a digital SLR taking a picture or taking a sequence of pictures, and this is and you want to use ExploreStars, which we typically don't recommend you use ExploreStars for astrophotography, but you can do it. You basically can start your sequence going in your camera and turn off your tablet to save the battery or whatever, and it'll continue to track the object and take pictures all day long. And then you can, once you get down to the end, you can say, oh, I want to move my telescope again. I'll start up ExploreStars again, and then reconnect, and it'll be there.
Okay, so that was Samir, one of the customers. Hi, wave to the camera, Samir.
Hi.
That's Samir, one of the customer service guys wandering around. Okay, so Jerry, there's this triangle P thing right here. What does that mean?
So there's two modes for the controller, for the control system. One is P and one is T as in tango. So P triangle means point mode. So that's kind of why we use the triangle, because it's pointing, it's continuously pointing to the object based on the alignment model that's in the mount. So it's like a bird dog. It sits there and points continuously at where the object is.
It's running in which axis?
It's both axes. So if you're not polar aligned, basically to stay on the target, you have to drive both axes. It's like you're between an alt-azimuth mount and an equatorial mount. You're in between because you're not polar aligned and you're not alt-azimuth. So you still have to drive both the axes, which is what the pointing model allows you to do. So when you point using the pointing model or the mount model that you created with the alignment, and I call it a virtual alignment. That's how you maintain the object in the center of the field. Track mode, which is the box TR mode, track mode, that sets the tracking rate to a fixed value, which is typically the sidereal rate. So that's the mode you want to be in if you're taking images. It's a little more precise. The point mode, if you zoom up on the pictures, you'll see a little bit of tiny bit of jitter because it's driving both axes at the same time, and then the way the ExploreStars does that, it updates at 5 times a second, so you'll see a tiny bit of jitter. But in track mode, it's completely smooth, and that's the mode you want to be in when you're doing astrophotography. Because
it's turning only in right ascension.
Only in right ascension, that's right.
So
you need to have a good polar alignment.
All right.
You don't want your image to drift
so let's
off.
just cover that. Let's just cover that one more time. Okay, so
and it's a toggle switch. That's
the toggle switch in TR mode is
track.
TR mode is track mode.
For
it's turning only in right ascension.
Yeah, for astrophotographers.
For
right?
Astrophotographhy. Tracking mode for astrophotography.
Yeah, and the P mode is point mode, and this is making the best utilization of any errors that you might have done during your alignment routine, correct?
Right. It's using the mount model to point and keep the object tracking in the center of the field.
Drive in right ascension and declination.
Up and over.
Because maybe you don't do a very good polar alignment.
And it's great for visual. That's the cool thing.
Yeah.
It's great for visual. Hey, and there's another button here.
Before we go any further here, Bergman Scooter would like to know, can he add the PMC-8 to his Exos 2 GT?
The answer is no. We offer a trade-in, trade-up program, so you can send in contact customer service through the portal or send us an email or give us a call. We'll set up a return merchandise authorization. You send us your mount. We will evaluate it and make you an offer. And but just for numbers to make it easy, we'll say it's $100. We'll give you $100 for it. And then that $100 applies as a credit towards the purchase of whatever else you're going to buy, a mount or telescope or whatever. And, I try to be clear with customers, when we buy something, we're going to resell it. And because we're reselling it, we warranty everything we sell. You may be able to sell it for more money than we're going to give you on the open market. You have to deal with advertising it and the calls and the discussions and the shipping and everything else, and you can get more money than what we're going to give you. But if you want a quick, honest deal with no hassles, you pay the shipping, we get it, we tell you what it is, it comes off, and your new item comes back to you.
Yeah, we'll be very upfront. We'll tell you what we think that you could probably sell it for yourself as well. So that you could make that decision on your own. It's just adding the parts and making it all configured correctly with the couplers and the motor change out and all the rest of it, Bergman. That's where the difference is. So.
Okay, so we have.
And thank you, Mike Wiesner. He said nice things about the 100-degree 5.5.
Oh, boy, it's a nice eyepiece. I'll tell you what. It truly. It's almost like sticking your head in a fishbowl. It's really a weird sensation, to see what it can see. All right, we have this button over here called Sync, Jerry. So what's that? Let's go to something in the Messier catalog, shall we?
Yeah. So I want to explain, in our earlier versions of ExploreStars, we kind of set our customers up to be confused, and we weren't very clear on the sync button on the early versions. The sync button was originally used when we did a 2 or 3 star alignment to so-called sync on the star. Okay, but that's not what you're doing when you do an alignment. You're actually gathering data. So now we have an enter button. So when you do a 2, 3 star alignment, you'll see an enter button. And what you're doing is you're entering the position into the data set for that star. Once you've centered the star, you hit enter, and it'll capture that that coordinate data to create the model. So the sync is a totally different function than that. When you do a sync, so let's say you go to a star or go to an object, and it's not quite centered, and so now the coordinates, the mount thinks it's at the right coordinates, but it really isn't. So you center the object in your eyepiece, and so now the coordinates that it's reporting are different than what the target coordinates should be. So the sync, what that does, that realigns the motor count in the PMC-8 that synchronizes the motor counts to the sky position. So now when you hit sync, the reported right ascension and declination value is the same as the target coordinates. And it's very analogous to setting your clock or setting a watch. Instead of it's on one axis, it's 2 axes. So you're setting the clock in your mount, basically. It's very much the same thing. It's just setting your watch.
And so the effect of it is, we've now told it that we're really on this now. So other objects that are nearby are going to have a pretty darn accurate go-to based on that position, correct? Right.
And even further away, if you've done an excellent job of your polar alignment and getting your telescope cone angle and all the other factors that are involved with getting a good polar alignment, once you do a sync to do that final tweak to make sure it's accurate, you should be able to go most anywhere in the sky, and it will be in your eyepiece, definitely, and even closer than that. Hopefully, it'll be near the center of the eyepiece instead of just halfway to the side.
I think one of the cool things about ExploreStars and all the alignment tools and all the other things that that have been put into the system is that if you want to be like super casual, you don't want to really dial in your equipment, you just want to plop the tripod down and get going, well, we give you the software that's going to let you do that and point to everything in the sky, okay? If you do tweak in your equipment, you know how to do a precision polar alignment and all the rest of that, then you don't have to rely on these other features so much. And you can do you can be up and flying faster, okay, because you're skipping alignment routines or whatever, or even syncing routines if you've done it exactly correct, so you can, it's like this sliding scale from a beginner user, that is going to be very, very casual, to an expert user that's really going to know how to dial in that equipment.
Right, and I think that's been a big part of our philosophy to create products that are have a very wide range of markets, from the very beginner to the most advanced, and we've run into issues with that in terms of support in some areas. But for example, the ExploreStars app, you can go directly to the graphical interface and just point and click. You don't have to use those buttons at all.
Right.
But they're there for you if you're a more advanced user and you want to go to a specific right ascension and declination. You can do that.
Sure.
Let's
so
do that,
the system
Jerry.
supports a wide range of experience and knowledge in using the system.
That's right.
Hey, Jerry, let's go to coordinates real quick. So I've tapped.
Mike Wiesner says that's cool about tracking auto guiding without optics.
Hey.
Right.
Okay, so I've done menu. There we go. So where do you want to go, Jerry? Give me some coordinates here.
Well, one of the neat things you can do is go to an altitude and azimuth. So let's say you know that you've got a tower that you want to look at that you've aligned on before with your finder, and it's at altitude 45 degrees, azimuth 270. So you can enter those directly.
So I just typed it in, just like numbers, and then hit submit.
And there goes the sky.
And I'm sitting here with headphones on, and I'm hearing thunder, so it must be getting ready to storm here.
Yeah. It started out being this really beautiful day here in Arkansas, and then, but you know what they say about Arkansas. If you don't like the weather, you can wait 5 minutes; it'll be different. So. And gentlemen, we have had a long show today, and we've had some good questions. We need to start to wrap it up because I have another show coming up with Cliff Whitney from Atlanta Hobby, and he's going to be on the Explore Now program that we run. And Cliff is a cancer survivor. A very, very interesting gentleman that I got to meet at the Winter Star Party. This guy goes, no matter what he's doing, he just goes all in when he decides to take his business or his life somewhere. And he's a very inspirational guy. I think you'll enjoy the program. He runs what is one of the biggest hobby showrooms in the country. It's like 5,000 square feet of showroom. Cliff was, I guess, president of the .com sector of Wolf Camera, which was huge at the time. So, definitely a guy you would call an early adopter. He flies ultralights. He does professional drone training. He's no matter what he's interested in, he just goes after it. And right now he's revisiting his passion for astronomy. And so Mike Overacker is saying surviving cancer can do that to you. I would believe that's true. I would believe that's true, Mike. So we should all be thankful for every minute we get to do what we want to do in our lives. So. Okay, gentlemen, is there any other things we want to do to wrap this show up?
Jerry, we can't hear you.
You're muted, Jerry.
Yeah, I can quickly show the directory structure if you share my desktop real quick.
Yep, sure. Go ahead.
Of the SD card. So can you see my SD card?
Yes.
Yep.
So there's the E drive. That's what I loaded it on. So this is the ExploreStars directory. So this is what you should see. When you go to your SD card, whatever it's assigned, you'll go to ExploreStars and you'll see this information. Then you can go to images and you'll see these directories. And then, for example, if you go to Messier, you'll see all the files that are in there. That's what it should look like. And that's all I wanted to share.
It's real straightforward. You shouldn't have to touch it.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's the days of having to extract the database on a Windows machine and then drag it over to the first level and, you know, are over with thanks to the configuration manager. And
yeah, I want to give a shout out to Chris Moses for that.
Absolutely.
Utility.
Yeah, another great contribution from the OpenGOTO community. So, all right. Well, everybody keep looking up. We will see you tomorrow. We have, really, we just have one more operating system to show on the, for ExploreStars, and that would be the Windows version. So we should probably do that tomorrow.
does anybody have a Windows tablet?
We'll have to find out.
I can get one from Ray. Ray has.
No, I think we do. I think so. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good night. You know, in about a little less than 45 minutes, we'll be back on again with Explore Now, our ongoing series. So take care, and we will be seeing you tomorrow.